Not on my screen.
There it is. I just, I have it up on my screen. It just showed up.
Okay, there's mine too. Except, hi. Okay, it's like delayed a little bit. Hello, everybody. And oh, except that I'm doing something very strange. Not on my screen. Okay, it's delayed.
There it is. I just, I have it up on my screen. It just showed up.
Okay, there's mine too. Except, hi. Okay, it's like delayed a little bit. Hello, everybody. And oh, except that I'm doing something very strange. Okay, it's delayed. Okay, all right. Don't watch the YouTube screen. Okay. Robbie, should I start talking? Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start. Don't watch the YouTube. And welcome. My name is Cheryl Montel, and I am the founder of Miltree. And I want to welcome you to this Miltree's panel discussion on the film of the Art of Resilience retreat. And hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm having a hard time here because it's
my name is Cheryl Montel,
it's
and I am
delayed
the
on
founder of
okay.
Miltree. And I want to welcome you to this Miltree's panel discussion on the film of the Art of Resilience retreat.
I will be your MC today. We will talk a bit, show the film, talk some more, and there will be a time, a Q&A. And if you have any questions or comments, that'll be a good time. So a little bit about Miltree. Our mission, as I said before, is to bring veterans into community. Today, we will talk a bit, show the film. Excuse me one moment. I'm just going to mute for 1 second. Hi, everybody. I'm back. I just had to mute the YouTube. Otherwise, I was getting feedback. So once again, welcome. And thank you for hanging in there with me. Like I said before, but I'll say it one more time. The mission of Miltree is to bring veterans, active duty, and civilians together through arts and dialogue to help transform the wounds of war. And just a little bit more about Miltree. Miltree was founded in 2012 after I read War in the Soul, Healing Our Nation's Veterans from Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, written by Dr. Ed Tick, the inspiration for initiating this grassroots nonprofit. So Miltree does all kinds of projects. We do art projects, visual arts, music, movement, writing. We've built a structure called the Sanctuary. We've done rock climbing, just to name a few. And we started Miltree with a Soldier's Heart retreat back in 2013. So one of our goals was always to continue doing transformative retreats. Dr. Tick led the Soldier's Heart retreat back in 2013 with his wife, Kate Dahlstead. And we are happy to say that he was part of the Art of Resilience as well. He can't be here today because he's on a deadline for his new book that he's writing. But I want to tell you a little bit about the Art of Resilience. We formed it to explore and support the transition from active duty to civilian life. And today on our panel, we have 3 of our facilitators. We have Miguel Rivera, Ben Dennis, and Leilani Squire. And that's 3 out of 4 of our Art of Resilience facilitators. let me tell you a little bit about each of them. Miguel Rivera is a professional musician since 1973. Wave, Miguel, if you can. Youth mentor for 27 years, translator, supervising sound editor for film and television for 41 years, and he's a community ceremonial leader. We also have Leilani Squire. Please wave. She is a playwright, screenwriting analyst, and founder and CEO of Returning Soldiers Speak, a wonderful 501c3 whose mission is to empower veterans, active duty, and family members of the military to tell their stories through the written word. We also have Dr. Ben Dennis. He is an Air Force veteran, a career firefighter, a mythologist, and a storyteller with a deep interest in the healing power of story. And so those are our three facilitators for the Art of Resilience. And then we also have on our panel 3 participants of the Art of Resilience. Dr. Scott Pangeli, who is a lieutenant in the USS Navy, navigator of the USS Rushmore, and now helps people excel under duress. He is a clinical health neuropsychologist in Eugene, Oregon. Welcome, Scott. And next we have Melissa Grisi, licensed clinical social worker, certified EMDR therapist and trauma-informed yoga teacher, and owner and founder of Blue Sky Therapy, the only holistic therapy practice in the high desert, offering individual and couples therapy specializing in military mental health. Welcome. And last but not least, Foster Corder was an E4 quartermaster in the Navy and is now one of Hollywood's busiest independent producers, directors of photography, and a gaffer. He's known for being the first African-American animal photographer, first African-American head of film and video production in the record industry, and started the first Black-owned commercial production company in America. So I wanted to let you know that so now I want to tell you how Art of Resilience actually began. So I met Miguel Rivera at the Soldier's Heart Retreat, like I said, in 2013. And then he led a Soldier's Heart Retreat in Mount Pinos. And subsequently, we kept in touch, and we kept talking about how we could make a retreat even more earth-based and bring ritual and storytelling and writing into it more acutely. So oh gosh, it must have been about 3 or 4 years ago. I remember it so clearly. We met at a Thai restaurant in Toluca Lake, and we sat there and we just started brainstorming, and we didn't know how this was going to happen. Of course, we thought it was going to be a live retreat, and we were going to do it again in Joshua Tree at the Joshua Tree Retreat Center. So I was able to get a few grants together, and, we started working on it. So I'm sorry, Miguel, I'm going to ask you to continue telling the story of the Art of Resilience.
Thank you, Cheryl. I've been basically working in several different modalities for the large part of 40 years. I've been running Native American ceremonies for about 40 years, helping to lead men's retreats for about 30, and working with mentoring youth at risk for about 25 years. And about 20 years or so ago, one of my mentees decided to go to Iraq. He didn't decide, he joined the Marines because he wanted to be a warrior. He ended up serving 2 tours in Iraq, and I got interested in working with vets after his return and realizing how complicated his life was. In experimenting with these modes, we realized that the communities that we live in, our lives are incredibly fragmented. So we wanted to bring different elements of the community through different modes. So we combine not only necessarily psychological modes, but also Native American indigenous modes with artistic modes, realizing that there are many ways to bring healing in a nonlinear fashion. So we combine ritual with movement, with storytelling. And we've run retreats in Maui for the last 7 years or so, experimenting. And one of the things that we did learn in Maui was actual physical work, making things, building things, planting things helps to transform the energy in a much, much deeper way than just psychoanalyzing it, right? And sitting in a room and telling stories. So Art of Resilience was born how to incorporate nonlinear, native traditional ways that allow you to metabolize the information that you have. And with that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Ben.
So I've been working with story and mythology now for probably 15 years, maybe a little bit more. And one of the things in the work that we've done together with Miguel, doing some of the men's conferences, and then stepping into the veterans work, is the nature of story and combined with ritual, and using mythology as a way of accessing some of those archetypal images that reside within us, but we don't really know how to bring forth in our personal narrative. So one of the things that I've found is that guys will have their stories, but they're holding on to the pieces of their stories that are so deep and so powerful that they don't quite know how to let them out into the world. But through the images that are found in the old stories, the old mythologies, the old fairy tales, they're able to access that energy without having to revisit the trauma, so to speak. And then just as we were talking about before with Miguel there, the role of ritual embodies those images, puts and it gives us an opportunity to step into a physical relationship with the world in such a way that the old wounds have a way of being reconstituted, remetabolized, and not scarred over so much as opened, so that the gifts in those wounds can be let forth. I've worked with shrines quite a bit, and gateways as a way of making a physical transformation and stepping through from one place to the next, and then building shrines to embody the elements that are caught inside of us. You know, shrines to grief, shrines to beauty, shrines to transformation. And when you are able to tend those things in a physical way, those inner, inner demons, if you will, have a place to go and reside that's outside of ourselves in such a way that they're not haunting, but actually can be made present in the world. And when we did AOR, here we were spread all over the country on a computer screen. I had everybody make an altar, and it made an altar to beauty and an altar to grief. And simultaneously, we had, over 50 altars or shrines being built across the country to grief and to beauty. And it was really profound to see how deeply connected we were able to get even though we were sitting in a desk, completely isolated physically, we were able to connect with each other energetically, which was a really profound thing. And then the personal narrative, the pieces of the story that needed to come out, started to come out. And so some of that exercise found their way into writing, which is what I want to invite Leilani Squire to speak to, because she was so instrumental in bringing those narratives forward into the group. So Leilani.
Thank you, Ben, for those kind words. First of all, I'd like to make a shout out to Ken and Ralph, two of my favorite veterans and writers, and not in that order. So one thing that we did, we wrote, and the writing exercises or the writing prompts were taken from the content of what was happening within the retreat in the workshop, which created like this wonderful thread of storytelling and going deep within the process of what we experienced in the military and coming home and aspects of our lives. And then we did little time writing, and we shared, whoever wanted to read. It was really quite profound to have this sharing between us of what we wrote. Then at the end of the retreat, we had a public reading, which was wonderful. And the idea is to bridge the veterans with the community, to share their stories. So perceptions and perspectives are changed actually on both sides. And we made a beautiful chapbook, because I wanted the veterans and the participants in the community participants to have something to hold in their hand. It's one thing because the spoken word is so ethereal or vaporizes right away. But if you're able to hold something within your hand, you can look at it and go, ah, yes, makes us proud. So it was a wonderful experience doing the writing. And I must say there are some extraordinary writers in the group. So that's what I did. But I also want to say real briefly, I've known Miguel for a few years through his ceremonial work, and Miguel introduced Cheryl and I because he thought that we would get along well, and that was many years ago, and that's how I became involved with Milltree. And Cheryl is like a sister to me, so, and Miguel is like my uncle, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was just reminded to press record. So give me one moment. I'm going to do that. God. Okay. Thank you, Leilani, for those wonderful words. We're now going to show you the Art of Resilience film. This is a 4-minute film, so you can see how we actually were processing on Zoom. So without further ado, the Art of Resilience.
Let me do my work each day, and if the darkened hours of despair should overtake me, let me not forget the strength that comforted me in the desolation of other times. Let me still remember the bright hours of my childhood that saw me walking along the margin of a quiet river while a light glowed within me. And I promised my early God to have courage midst the tempest of the changing years.
Every one of you is a warrior because every one of you has been in the war zone and witnessed what war does and absorbed the pain and the loss and the grief and the energies. And every one of you, every one of us has been transformed by that experience and by this experience.
It's hard to be who you are when you haven't met him yet. It's hard to be who you are when you wouldn't be him on a bet. You tried to be you. You tried to be true. But making it up doesn't work. To find your way forward, you have to go back and see where you went off the track. Can't do it alone when you're cut to the bone. But with friends, you just may come back.
Take the gifts that are on each altar of the seed and the cornmeal, and sometime in the next day or two, go plant them in the ground. Okay? And sometime soon, take the water that's left and pour that out into the ground so that the earth can carry and can hear everything that we've done. Take the flowers and scatter them someplace so that that beauty can now be shared by the earth, and they can go back in as compost, as a gift to the earth. So everything that you take off the altars now are gifts.
And that's what we have been doing this weekend, is going through the process of healing our wounds of the soul. And also, story has power. And when we write our story, there's power and healing. And when we tell our story, there is power in the story to bring me and you together.
Okay, so now we're back, and I wanted to turn the discussion over to the participant panelists, and they can give you a little bit more about what the retreat was like for them personally. So I'm going to start with Dr. Scott. So thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. For forever, I was wandering lost. I could not come home. When I was released from the U.S. Navy in 1970, I returned to America after 2 tours in the Middle East, but I could not come home. America was at war with herself, on fire, enraged about painfully losing so many young lives in a war in Vietnam it could not win. I was spit on, accused of being a baby killer, and dismissed because I was a warrior. And I believed I was not worthy to return home. I did not deserve to be welcomed back. I was lost. I know I dumped my shame and anger on my family, including wounds that hurt my sons, especially Mark, who is here with us today, and my stepdaughter and people in my life I loved and cared for. Back then, I wandered, lost, looking to find a way back home. I learned about grief and found there were men who taught us how to transform the rage of my pain and anger into the power of beauty. It took 30 years of ceremony, ritual, to kindle all my grief. I slowly did the work of redemption, the work it takes to learn there was gold inside the charred remains of my life at war. This started in 1990, Minnesota Men's Conference with Robert Bly, James Hillman, Danny Deerdorf, and 2 dear friends who are here with us today, Miguel Rivera and Ben Dennis. Then this spring, in the Art of Resilience with Cheryl Montel, Ed Tick, Leilani Squire, Ben Dennis, and Miguel, when we were together with civilians who were right there with us, we created a safe place, veterans with civilians right there with us, where it was possible for us to risk writing about the wounds we brought back from war. As we rode on the blessings from our rituals to beauty and grief, I tore off 95 pounds of armor I no longer need. At long last, I finally accepted the gift of welcome home. In the days that followed Art of Resilience, I have survived letting go of suffering. These days, I now wake up smiling at the joy of possibilities in my life back home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was absolutely beautiful. Now I'd like to introduce Melissa Greasy. She is actually a civilian, but she works with veterans and military families. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Melissa. Thanks so much for having me here today and inviting me to share about my experience with AOR. So, being involved with military, I had heard about AOR. There were plans for it to be held here in Joshua Tree, and then COVID hit. And I learned that AOR would move to an online format. And I kind of did not know what that would be like. I wasn't sure what to expect. It was, I think, 3 days, and just wondering, how could we have a retreat when my retreat experiences have always been in person, right? And usually in like really beautiful, sacred places. So I didn't have, I knew it would be good. I knew there was a lot of planning behind it. And I knew with Cheryl and the group she had put together that it would be special, really going in with just curious about how this would work. So it ended up being such an incredible experience. I feel like this bond with everyone that was part of the retreat. I went in as a civilian to hold space, and on the first day of the retreat, I learned that my dog, we received a call from the vet that my dog had cancer, my 13-year-old dog. So I was pretty distraught coming into it. And when we went into breakout rooms, really wanting to be like the social worker and civilian holding space, I couldn't do it. And I broke down into tears, and the community was so incredibly supportive and beautiful. And the amount of grief that I was able to process during that retreat, thanks to all the wonderful, caring people involved, was just really incredible. And it's led me to just think about how we don't have a lot of spaces in our culture and communities to process grief, that we sort of live in this culture where we're just expected to like get going, put it in a box, put it in the closet. You're still grieving that, this kind of like expectation that it's time limited. And what I found so special, I mean, there's so many things about AOR that were special, but this collective experience of processing grief, this space where people didn't shy away, because often when you talk about your grief, people shy away. They want to make it better. They're uncomfortable with it, right? So that really was so powerful for me in that experience of being with everyone in community, the use of writing, the use of ritual, creating altars together, sharing those altars, knowing we were spread all over the country, but so connected. It was just an incredibly powerful experience. And I'm so grateful that I was able to be a part of it. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. And I will tell you this also, that Melissa is on the Miltree board, and I'm so glad that she is, another sister.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Well, thank you. And last but not least, we have Foster Corder, who, another gem. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm in my truck, guys. Sorry about that, but I didn't want to miss this for anything. I'm on my way to work. What I want to say to anyone thinking about participating in the Art of Resilience, I'm that guy that was skeptical. Okay, if you're saying, this is not for me, or that's got to be fake, or it's for losers or people who can't deal with it, no. Okay, because I did the seminar, the retreat, because, and again, I came in skeptical because I've held all of my military Vietnam time in a special place. I put it away because I forged my birth certificate when I was 15 to go to Vietnam to get away from a street gang in Chicago. And when I came back, I just put it in another place and just didn't deal with it at all. And I had stayed away from everything veteran and all of the things associated with veterans, especially because being Black, every veteran that I knew, they had issues that caused them to be homeless, that broke up their marriages and all kinds of things and their careers. So I just said, the hell with Vietnam, the hell with the war, the hell with all of that. That was another lifetime. And when I took part in the Art of Resilience, I was afraid. and rightly so, because it brought up a lot of issues that I had tried to stay away from. But the reality of it is, because these guys are so tricky, okay? With the writing, with the ceremonial, with the things that this team brings about and the way that they do it, it really, really speaks to your soul and your essence. And I want to say that for me, spiritually, and I know a lot of people don't go on this whole spiritual level of life and thinking, but since I took the Art of Resilience, I have to be honest, my spiritual life has totally just blossomed, and I don't know where that energy was at that was blocking it or causing it to be on the pause for the last 2 years or so. But since I took the Art of Resilience, life has been great. And I addressed issues that I hadn't. And I've recommended several friends that I know, Vietnam veterans and Iraq veterans, to participate, So all I can say is Miltree is a wonderful, wonderful organization. This group of facilitators are totally awesome. And if you're thinking about it, go for it. It'll help your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Foster. This is a time where if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them in the chat, and I will direct your questions wherever you like them to be directed to the facilitators. So please, if you have a question for us about Art of Resilience, please feel free to ask that now. And I also want to just welcome everybody that I didn't welcome personally. I see David Romero just came on, and thank you so much. Do you have any questions about the Art of Resilience? I'm going to just give it a moment. The other thing is, we just finished, not only did we just do the Art of Resilience, but we also did a women's retreat led by 3 really wonderful women. It was called Women in Strength. Oh Lord, I forgot the full name. Women in Strength and Gratitude. No, Leilani, help me out. Do you remember the name of that we titled it?
No, I can't even remember what day it is. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. Anyway, it was a wonderful retreat led by Carolyn Hartness, Debbie Guerrero, and Dolores Mondragon, and it was just amazing as well. So we just continue growing and learning how to support our returning men and women. Let's see. Okay, here's a question. Let me see. William Kelly, I'd like to be part of this. This is very inspiring. Oh, thank you so much, Will. Do you have a question before I go on to the next question? We want you to be part of it. Absolutely. Will you think about that for a moment? Kenneth Clem has a question. Are there any plans for a future AOR? I will just take that on briefly. Yes, we have to raise the funds for this. And so the other thing you can do if your heart inspires you to do this, if you go to the Miltree website, mil-tree.org, there is still a Giving Tuesday button up, even though Giving Tuesday was a few days ago. And please feel free to donate. We are going to try to get grants for this, but every dollar counts in Miltree, and we are, saving funds for Art of Resilience in 2021. So thank you. Let's see. Yes, like I said, yes, we will have more. And Kate Rule is on. Hello, Kate, and you're welcome. And let's see, this sounds wonderful. Okay, so I guess we don't quite have any questions right now. dear facilitators, would you like to say anything else? Ben, Leilani? Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I would just wanted to prime the pump a little bit here. And one of the things that went into the thinking of creating this was there's a lot of work that's being done on psychological level, which is good work. I'm not going to say, I think there's a lot of important work being done on that level, but there's not that much being done on levels that deepening into the soul work. And in my thinking, working with story and working with ritual was this notion, it's an old notion of restitution. And a lot of, as a firefighter, as well as a veteran, there's a huge amount of displacement on a soul level when you're exposed to super high levels of trauma, danger, all the different things that people experience when they're in the military, or in my case, first responder work, which require let me rephrase that. It invites a return. And so the old word is restitution, and the old movement of that, or the old way of thinking of that, was the act of birthing. It's a midwifery term. And when the baby is born, the head is turned in such a way that, to make its way out of the birth canal. And birthing is anybody that's been through a giving birth, either midwifing, or in my case, in some crazy places I've delivered babies. The act of returning the head into alignment with the body is called restitution. And so in the experience of war, trauma, the devastation that we've experienced, what we're doing on a soul level is creating the opportunity for restitution, to bring our souls and ourselves back in alignment and in balance. And so the act of doing these things, from ritual to storytelling to personal narrative to the songs to writing exercises, these are all, with the intention of bringing ourselves back into balance, bringing ourselves back into alignment. And it was that kind of thinking that I think we all were working towards when we invite people to come in and participate. Miguel?
Miguel?
What I wanted to say too is, originally when we started doing these retreats, they were highly academic based, and then the necessity to become elemental based also as well. In other words, bringing in a relationship to the world around us. Humans have a propensity to get massive amounts of information, but never process it into the body or into the world around you. And so we have to basically go through the information and then start to metabolize it in a physical form. So for us, the fire is not just a symbol, it's not just an idea, it's not just a metaphor, but it's a living, breathing being that needs to be kept alive and maintained. So the premise between what we've learned from all the retreats is that we have the psychological and spiritual work, but we also link it not only to ourselves, but also to the community around us. So the purpose, one of the main purposes is to remove the sense of alienation that exists in the culture. Our language is a noun-based language, and nouns tend to fragment everything. They divide everything into little tiny little pieces. So that compounded fragmentation exists everywhere in the culture. So if we have to understand the ideology, right, that we live in, the semantic reality that we live in shapes the patterns of behavior in the culture. So this is what we're trying to go deep enough so that we can actually change the semantic structure. This is the long-term approach. For us, it's a long-term goal, and this is constantly changing. Resilience, we were going to do a retreat in the desert where we were going to run sweat lodges, spend time outdoors building fires. We couldn't do it. We had to do it all virtual. So we had to transpose everything that we were going to do with the elements into a digital format. But if we don't have the technical information of how to build fires, how to invoke spirit, how to deal with the aesthetics of art embedded in our bodies, we won't be able to translate that into a digital format. So that's what's really important. Between all the leaders and participants, we have hundreds of years, over, what they say, 15,000 hours to master something. We have 500,000 hours of mastery invested in the people that are presenting this. This is what has to be taken into account. So we're not just sitting there, having read one or two books, and we didn't go to shaman school in the back of shaman's drum for 3 hours or anything like that, or become our pop psychologist, from going to a pop psychology course in whatever the learning annex, right? No, this is like years, like Scott was saying, his task, the culmination of his journey, which took over 40 years probably, right? Or more. But this is all a tenacious commitment to integrating all the aspects of the body with the soul in this world and making a relationship to the world around. This is what we're after, defragmenting the culture, and at the same time dealing with the issues of colonization, right? The tyranny of religions and the culture that fragment us. So this is what we're after, right? Not just some very simple things, but a much, much deeper purpose. So I want to be clear about that. So we're not just, we're making sure that the future generations don't have to end up dealing with the issues that we are dealing with now. This is one of the goals.
Thank you, Miguel. Leilani.
And so going further with that is the idea of community. Melissa was talking about community and how important the community was, and the whole idea of actually healing really truly takes place in community. We heal individually, but then when we can heal within the community, from my experience, that is truly a deep healing. And even though it was amazing, even though we were virtual, it was actually happening. And Miguel, you said something about a living, breathing, the fire is a living, breathing entity. The community is a living, breathing entity of itself. And each of the individual components creates this unique community. And I want to say something personal, because when you were talking, Melissa, it reminded me, I was born in an Army hospital and grew up in the military. So we children we have our own issues. I mean, growing up in the military complex, and we have issues too. There's a sense of isolation, the sense of disengagement from society. And because we're not a veteran, then we're even more distanced, more disengaged. But in a breakout group, I was with 3 men, and I had my own grief, my own wound, a very woman's wound. And I talked to them, and they embraced me, and they held me. And it was an extraordinary experience. I just want to say that, and I think that's one of the great aspects or great functions of Art of Resilience, is how we can express our deepest secrets. We expressed some of our deepest secrets, and the community accepted us, or accepted me, and that to me is a very deep healing. So the community that we created, it was really quite special. And I think I'm rambling now.
That's all right. Thank you, Leilani. I just got the name of our wonderful women's retreat back. Thank you, Ben. It was called Women's Strength Through Culture and Gratitude. And it was just for women, and we would love to incorporate in the Art of Resilience a section that would be just for women and just for men, because some issues are not easily expressed in mixed company. So, we're going to be expanding on the Art of Resilience, and, we want to be able to hold people well, and of course, in Miltree, we always include the civilians along with active duty and the veterans, because we want to support them, but in turn, they're always supporting us as well. And it becomes, the best word I can think of is synergy. It becomes, even over the Zoom or whatever online, it became so intimate for all of us. And I really want to thank all of you for being here today. And I'm not sure when the next Art of Resilience is, but please email me. And if you don't have the email, it's info@mil-tree.org. And if you're somebody that would like to fund this project, like I said, just go to miltree.org. There is still a Giving Tuesday up. and we really welcome your support. Yes, Leilani.
But we are looking at sometime in 2021,
Yes,
whether
absolutely.
whether it's virtual or in person,
of them.
depending upon what our future holds.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
and one for men and one for women. You know, that's the whole thing ongoing.
Hmm,
The long-term goal is to do these all the time. So,
yeah. Ben?
I just want to tag on to something I think it's important that Leilani brought up, and that was a sense of vulnerability. And it was I heard recently on an interview with I think Brianna or Brene Brown, the idea that there is no courage without vulnerability, and the notion that as we allow ourselves to step into these circles and we create an environment where people can open up themselves in such a way that they access their vulnerability, that brings about the courage to move forward in life. And so I think this is something that's really important about what we're doing here. It's more than just psychological, it's more than just academic. It really steps deep into who we are and how we move in the world.
And if I could add to that, when we heard and listened to other people's stories, like even just today with Scott, I mean, we heard your story and we saw the process of the armor coming off. We witnessed this. We witnessed that, which was so extraordinary. And your courage, your vulnerability and courage, like Ben was saying, gives me the courage to be vulnerable and stuff like that. So each one of us, to me, that's a gift. And today again, Scott, how beautiful you write. There's such a good writer, such a beautiful story is a gift to us.
the one thing that's coming up for me right now, as we're talking about Scott's stories, I've known Scott for, like he was saying, almost 30 years, pretty much. And what you have to realize is if you think of dealing with the whole Megillah at the same time, it's going to terrify you. But if you go at it little by little, eventually you will be able to get there if you're realizing that a step at a time, the journey. So we're looking at Scott's journey here of a period of 30, maybe even 40 years, that it took to get to this place. But held in community in that way, you can alleviate the gravity and the severity of that, because a lot of the times the wounding, in my experience, right, and I only have about 50 years of listening to people's stories behind my belt, maybe a little bit more than that, but what I have seen is that there's a tremendous amount of wounding that takes place in our lives at a very early developmental period. So by the time we get to the military or some sort of early adolescence to young juvenile age, we're already most of us are in some way already compromised or fragmented. So when we get into serious places in our life, like the military or like the gangs, right? So we deal with that risk. I would deal with that risk. The fragmentation becomes exponentially. It gets compounded. So when you have to come home, where is home? There is no home. It's terrifying. The fact that you can't. It's a swamp. So we have to create basically anchoring experiences. I've had beautiful conversations with Scott over the years about creating an epiphany type experience that actually cements the memory in your atoms, molecules, cells, that gives you a way to orient so you can anchor that. And these retreats give you those kind of anchoring opportunities in many different ways, either through writing or through ceremony, or a combination of writing and ceremony, and basically being in intimate places where you can actually begin to reweave yourself. If there was nobody there to protect you when you were 4, you're going to be there again. Sorry, go ahead, Cheryl. Yep.
We do have a question, and the question is from Laura. She wanted to know if we address non-neurotypical folks within these groups.
Non-what?
Yeah, let's see, wait, I just lost it. Do we address non-neurotypical folks within these groups? Laura, you might have to be specific. I'm not sure what that means.
I think I know what she means. I would say the answer would be to this: we're human beings first, men and women second, and we're beings in a community of beings that involves all kinds of elementals, plants, and animals. So our job, our goal is to get to reclaim the sanctity of our beingness, whatever you define it. So yes, the answer is yes, we deal with that. And sometimes it's a very treacherous journey to get to that point. But the answer is yes, because any way you look at it, we are alienated from ourselves and from the world around us by the cultural impositions that drive us. So that kind of wounding exacerbates certain levels of or compromise or amplify certain levels of alienation, right, or pain. And the answer is for us is we're looking for that always. So the answer is yeah. Any kind of complex situation that you're in probably can be addressed through this. Yes.
Thank
I
you,
know.
Miguel. Oh, thank you. I just want to say we've really come to the end of our time, but I did put up on the YouTube our email and our website. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. The email will go to me. And if you have any more questions for the panel, I would get your question to them. Leilani.
I just want to recognize Cheryl for all of your efforts, and you are the driving force behind this. You are the one that gets us all together, and so I just want to acknowledge your sincere heart and your efforts. You really make tremendous effort. You're the central figure to this, Cheryl. So we wouldn't be here without you. And I just want to, I don't know if we acknowledged what a vital and important element you are in this.
Let me take that in. Thank you. I appreciate that very much, but I feel the same about each and every one of you. Actually, I don't think I could continue with Miltree if it wasn't for all of your support. It takes a village. That's why community is so important. So once again, and I want to acknowledge Robbie Robb. He was our technical wizard. And he really worked hard on this. So thank you so much, Robbie. We really appreciate it. And thank all of you for joining us today. And like I said, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to contact me and we will get them answered. I'm ready to say goodbye to everyone. Does anybody else want to say something? Thank you to all the panelists, Leilani, Ben, Melissa, Miguel, Scott, and Foster. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and be safe.
Thank you.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands.
That's right.
Be careful. Thank you.